A very good evening, friends. Today, I thought of doing a one experiment of having a book review session and analysis of the very recently book which I have completed reading of. First of all, I hope you all are taking utmost care of yourself and your family from this global pandemic of COVID. Lots of people, lots of friends, we keep on discussing about the book which we have recently completed reading of, particularly since 1 year, because everybody has been working from home, people are getting time, or for any cause. I mean, lots of discussion we do have it on a regular weekends. So I thought today, why not I should go live and share and do a small experiment of having a book analysis and a review session of the book which I have very recently completed reading of. So let's go with it. A book which I have recently completed reading of is The Tatas. Everybody is familiar with the name. How a Family Built a Business and a Nation. You can see the book. A very beautiful cover page has been designed, I would say. I hope you can see it. The Tatas, How a Family Built a Business and a Nation, written by a Girish Kuber. Uh, Girish Kuber is a very well-known author. He writes most of the time for Indian Express and many other editorials also. Originally, Girish have written this book in Marathi, but thereafter it was been translated by Vikrant Pande. Friends, I think it's a very fantastic book. I enjoyed reading it. So let's have a glimpses and a few important chapters of this book, I would say, because reading entire book and giving a summary of the entire book in half an hour is quite difficult. But most important things which was being covered by the author Kuber in this book, which I will be sharing with you all of you. So Tatas, I mean, everybody must have heard the name of Jamshed Tata. Many people think the founder of Tata was Jamshed Tata, but I am sorry, the founder of Tata was not Jamshed Tata, it was Nasarvanji Tata. Nasarvanji Tata was the person who laid the foundation of the Tata Empire, I would say. So, we will start with the first chapter of the book. It covers of Nasarvanji of Navsari. The author starts explaining how a small boy who was born in the princelyhood called Nasarvanji took an initiative and had a vision of doing something out of the box. He was born in a Parsi family and his occupation was practicing a priesthood. Thereafter, he thought, why not I should do something different? And that's how he started having an initial stage of trading business, particularly into the cotton trading, and made a profit of 40 lakhs in those time. From this initiative, he got a push up and thought we should do something more. And by till then, Jamshed Tata, the son of Nasarvanji Tata, was born. So I would say the business started with the Empress Mill. Thereafter, the business was being started by Empress Mill. There were lots of challenges, of course, but somehow Jamshed Tata and his father Nasarvanji Tata got succeeded and earned a revenue of 40 lakh rupees in those time, which is a huge amount. I'm talking about the year 1868. However, thereafter, everybody must have heard the name of Provident Fund. In today's company, we all hear Provident Fund, PF. we talk about, pension we talk about, but many few of them knows the word provident fund and pension word came from the visionary of Nasarvanji Tata and Jamshedji Tata introduced the concept of pension and provident fund at particularly in India. I don't know who have introduced in the world, but I'm quite sure at least in India the word or this kind of concept of giving a provident fund and pension was been started by Nasarvanji Tata and his son Jamshedji Tata. That was also in the year 1877. So since then, all the companies have been following a trend of giving a provident fund and pension. Just imagine he had a vision in the year 1877 of introducing this kind of thought process in India. That time India was not even independent and was fighting a battle for getting its independence. In those days, he introduced this kind of concept. Thereafter, in it's been written a century exactly. I would say in 1877 he got introduced a mill in Nagpur, and exactly after 100 years the same mill which is now been recognized a century after setting up of the Empress Mill, this founding pillar of the Tata Group and of industrial India, was merged with the Maharashtra Textile Corporation in 1977. So in 1877 it was being started by Nasarvanji and his son Jamshedji. Exactly after 100 years it got taken away by the government of Maharashtra and the name got changed into Maharashtra Textile Corporation in 1977. Same thing happened with Air India also. We will talk about it in detail in the coming chapter. That's how the initial business was been started. Then in second chapter, Mr. Girish Kuber, author, talks about Swadeshi Mill. And the name of the mill, Swadeshi Mill, whole pride of the Tata Empire. Jamshedji spent his entire time and energy in reviving a Swadeshi mill, the mill which he purchased from the third party, and then he gave most of his time to revive this mill. Then many few of them know Tatas were also in the business of farming. Acha, one thing I would go back and I would say Jamshedji was very much fond of getting Indianness in every form. So Swadeshi means concept. Even I didn't knew. I read it in this book itself. There was a huge movement going on, and the fight was going on for the India to get independent. So Jamshedji thought, why shouldn't we give a name Swadeshi, which will have a boost to the movement of Swadeshi movement by Mahatma Gandhi. So purposely to motivate, or I would say to boost the movement or to support the movement of Mahatma Gandhi, he gave the name of his new mill called Swadeshi Mill, which of course worked very well. Thereafter, Tatas were also in the business of farming, in particular in Panchgani, where we know the soil was also strawberries, where we get it. The soil was suitable for growing strawberries and the hydro projects and many more. Thereafter, the birth of Mysore silk started. So Tatas were also involved in silk, very prominent silk, which we get it from Mysore today. Thereafter, Tatas were involved. Another venture which Tata got involved is dairy farming. Yes, Tatas were also involved in dairy farming. We can see lots of big dairies in Mumbai today was been initially started by Tatas. And thereafter, I would say the business or the laying a stone of iron and steel came into existence. So Jamshedji had a two sons called Dorabji and Ratanji. One more thing I would like to add it, which I forgot to tell you. The foundation stone of Tata Empire was being laid by Nasarvanji Tata. As I have told you in the beginning itself that very few knew that the foundation was being laid by Nasarvanji Tata and took off under the tenure of Jamshedji Tata. That's why Jamshedji became a very popular figure in the Tata Empire. But unfortunately, we know it very well, the record which we are not able to maintain or not able to preserve our history, not only about Tatas but anything. That's how similarly in this case also we have not been able to trace, or we are not been able to have much, I would say, much information about the Nasarvanji Tata. That's why people don't know who Nasarvanji was. That's why people do know Jamshedji Tata as the founder of Tata Empire. Now, Jamshedji have had various ventures by now. Now he had thought of starting an iron and steel company. Now, what motivated him to have a thought process on this? I would say I am getting a message. Okay, I've been getting a message of Hindi and English. Okay, fine. I'll be talking in Hindi and English in both the language. Okay, fine. So Jamshedji attended a lecture. He was been invited by Thomas Carlyle, who said a nation that understood the value of iron would reap it, weight in gold. That point stayed with Jamshedji. Now in his 40s, he came across a report by a German geologist talking about immense mineral deposited in the different districts of India. And by then, Britishers were misusing our resources. With Jamshedji thought, why not we can have a utilize optimum utilization of resources by our Indianness, and we do something, we can produce iron in a much larger scale. That's motivated him to thought of starting or going into the business of iron and steel. That's how Jamshedji came into the business of iron and steel. Now, Jamshedji had two sons, Dorabji and Ratanji. I already told you. The Jamshedji thought one incident which you all must have heard it, or you must have read it somewhere by now. The Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai was also been introduced by Jamshedji Tata. In one occasion, he came to know there are lots of hotels in Mumbai, but unfortunately, our Indians were not been allowed to enter into our hotels by the Britishers, which made Jamshedji Tata very upset. So he told, and on that particular day itself, he decided, I will build a hotel for my own people, and I will showcase it to the world that India is also capable building of having a five-star hotel. That motivated Jamshedji Tata, and today we all know the Taj Hotel in Mumbai, in front of the gateway of India. So I would say it's been written over here. I've read it some. It's been written in the year. Jamshedji's sister came to know that his brother is thinking of building a very high class five-star hotel in Mumbai, which made her perplexed. And during that tenure, Jamshedji was facing a huge loss in the meals also, and he was also involved in processing the unit of iron and steel which he had imagined thereafter. So Jamshedji's sister thought, why would he build an eating house of all these things? She wanted to know. But Jamshedji wanted to build his Taj Mahal for the people of Bombay. That's what it's, as I said, it's been quoted by the author over here. That's how the Taj Hotel came to Bombay, and today we can see its uniqueness and its wonders across the world. Acha, one more thing I would add it. When Jamshedji Tata was working on the business of iron and steel, he told one thing to his son, Dorab Tata. Now, I would read it what the author have written it over here. The birth of India's steel manufacturing was about to happen. Jamshedji was so confident of his dream project that he wrote to Dorab, his son, 5 years before actual production began at the steel plant, asking him to ensure that the listen it very carefully, asking his son to ensure that the roads in the town where the plant would be set up should be wide and laid well. He said that the routes or the roads would see a lot of trucks, traffic, and hence needed to be built with care. He asked his son Dorab to plant a lot of fast growing trees along with the roads and in villages nearby, as the steel plant would generate a lot of heat and green cover would offer some respite. He even directed his son to build football, hockey, and cricket grounds. Not only that, he focused and ensured and told his son to kindly build temple, mosque, gurudwara, churches for the benefits of the villagers and the nearby. Jamshedji's instruction to his son were reminiscent of those of a great Maratha warrior Shivaji, who was known for laying down detailed rule of how his men should behave when on or off duty. In those days, Jamshedji had a vision of building a football, hockey, cricket stadium and of townships, which today we have been able to see in the town of Jamshedpur. So that was his vision. Now, another key project of Jamshedji was after hotel was Indian Institute of Science, a project proposed, another venture of Jamshedji. Okay, so by then, this time, there was a simultaneous project was going on. One iron and steel empire was getting ready. Taj Mahal Hotel was under construction, and Indian Institute of Science was about to lay a foundation. So, Indian Institute of Science, we often know it very well. It's in Bangalore. Lots of scientists, I would say, right from C.V. Raman to Dr. Homi Bhabha, Venkateshwar, all those people have started the initial career in Indian Institute of Science, which is at present in Bangalore, which very few know. It was been started, and the dream was of Jamshedji Tata. Now we'll move forward with another chapter. It's been written. It's been written as it's been. Yeah. So over here, the it's been written in the Tata archives. Also, I have read it in Pune when I visited it. Oh, there also I remember that laying the foundation for the Taj Mahal Hotel. Jamshedji Tata said he had no interest in owning this place. He just don't want to show the world. He just wanted to show the world that Indians were capable of building such a hotel. He wanted it to be an inspiration for others. The India of today has emerged from the dreams he sowed in the minds of Indians during this time. So that's how the concept of Taj Mahal, building a concept of Taj Mahal hotel, came into existence. Now, building of Taj Mahal hotel, Indian Institute of Science, iron and steel industry, all those were under construction under the leadership of Jamshed Tata. But unfortunately, he was not been able to see either of this project until unless it got finished, because on 19th May 1904, in the visit at a visit of Germany, he passed away. But thereafter, after Jamshedji Tata, his son took over, his elder son took over Dorab Tata. That's how in the third chapter, the heading of the chapter itself it says, the glow after the sunset. Because of this only Jamshedji Tata passed away, but the Indian Institute of Science, a dream project of Jamshedji Tata, accomplished and finished by his son Dorab Tata and came into existence. So on 27th March 1905, marked the foundation of this institute. Over here also, it's been mentioned, it was Jamshedji's dream that the name should display its Indianness. It was his high-heartedness that, despite having played a significant role in the formation, he had no ambition to have his name anywhere on it. He was a reticent man who preferred not to be in the public eye. Just imagine, friends, in spite of his dream project, in spite of his vision, in spite of giving lots of things to the society, still he didn't wanted his name to be appear anywhere. Now, Jamshedji even thought of going into hydroelectricity business, but unfortunately he passed away and it was being carried forward by his son Dorab Tata. Now from here, Dorabji legacy started. We will move forward. Lots of thing has been mentioned in between the chapter, how the struggle was been going on to start the business, but I won't go in depth. We'll have a glimpses of the ventures, otherwise we would not be able to finish it in 40 minutes. So I won't go in detail in that. But in between, lots of battles were also going on between among the members of the freedom, independent movement. So I am not touching upon those issues. And Dorabji legacies started from there. I will carry on. Okay. Noha. One very interesting thing about Dorabji. Not many know that it was Dorabji Tata whose brainchild was there to get Indians to participate in the Olympics. Today we all know the importance of Olympics. We all know how the Olympics and where the Olympics has been going on, but very few of them knows that it was Dorabji Tata's push, and he ensured it that India should get a chance to participate in the Olympics. In those days, Britishers were not allowing, British India, I would say, were not allowing our people to be a part of the Olympics, which used to be held in those days in abroad. But Dorabji Tata, who fought against the Britishers and ensured that India should get a chance to participate in the Olympics. That's how India got entered into the Olympics, which very few people know. And not only that, he even sponsored and make sure that all the players who wanted to participate in the Olympics were being sponsored by him personally, including the traveling cost, which very few people know this. Dorabji wanted to set up a facility of international standard for the treatment of cancer in India. So we can see his father Jamshedji Tata thought of starting a research center called Indian Institute of Science, and his dream was to set up a treatment for the cancer in Mumbai, which we all know it very well. Not only from India but across the globe, across the world, people do come to Mumbai for the treatment of cancer in a very cheap cost, which has been a name of Tata Memorial Hospital in Parel in Mumbai. But in this also, the dream vision of Dorabji Tata was not been fulfilled, because by the time he laid the foundation of building this hospital, he passed away. And again, as a tribute to him, his successor and cousin, Navrozji Sakatwala, who became a chairman of the Tata Group from 1932 to 1938, took up the work and a work of setting up the Tata Memorial Hospital in Bombay. So, friends, you can see, I mean, all those people, right from the Nasarvanji Tata to Jamshedji Tata to Dorabji Tata, all the people, generation after generation, people had a dream. I mean, the family had a dream to do something and contribute to their best for the development of the nation. That's how in 1932, the Sakletwala took as the chairman, and that's how the legacy carried forward. And finally, the Tata Memorial Hospital was being started, and Dorabji Tata's dream was being fulfilled. Now the chapter talks about the dawn of industrial age. Huh. Over here, it is very interesting line for me. I didn't knew this particularly. Jamshedji Tata had a two sons, which we have seen it, Dorabji Tata and Ratanji Tata. Now, two brothers were influenced by the different philosophies. How come? Dorabji Tata was involved more into the business and the contribution to the GDP of the nation, whereas his younger brother, Ratanji, was more into social sector, more into social movement, more into the groups of the people who were been working in those days for the India to get independent. So he was more into social domain, and his elder brother was into contribution of GDP. He was his younger brother Dorabji's Ratan was also a part of Bharat Sevak Samaj, the servant of Indian society, which was being formed by the Gopal Krishna Gokhale in those days. His contribution to society was publicly acknowledged by Gokhale in 1909. Ratanji even supported Gokhale in many areas. One of Gokhale's discipline was to benefit from Ratanji's largeness was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. While Gandhi, they not yet known as Mahatma, was fighting in South Africa, Ratanji supported him with a whooping contribution of 1.25 lakh in those days. Just imagine. One brother was involved to establish a uh, the institution, and another brother was involved to strengthen the group which was been fighting day and night for our country to get independent. Now we will move forward. Uh, Even in this, one more thing has been mentioned. The contribution of Ratanji was uh, he was very much concerned with the health and wellness of the common man. So he thought to establish a tuberculosis center, which was been set up for preventing treatment in Bombay with his fund. The idea of creating a beautiful seaboard from Bandra to Kaf Parade, that time there was no connectivity in those days. So he thought of connecting this and establish a seaboard to from Bandra to Kaf Parade. He had allotted a rupees 8 lakh to be donated to various social and academic institutions post his passing away. That's how Ratanji was so keen to work on the social development sector. Now we'll move forward. Uh, Now there is a, I would say, his tenure came to end in the year, I would say, even one more fact, it's very interesting. Ratanji Tata, son of the brother of Dorab Tata, sorry, had a huge collection of exquisite painting by celebrated painters, which was donated to Prince of Wales Museum in Mumbai at present. That's how later the museum opened a separate wing in honor of Dorab and Ratan Tata. One more thing I would make it very clarify, friends. Ratan Tata, Ratanji Tata, which I am talking about, is not the Ratan Tata which we are seeing today. So it's the son of Jams. Is the son of this Jamshedji Tata and today's Ratan Tata are two different Ratan Tatas in the family tree. So we don't have to get confused between that Ratan Tata and today's Ratan Tata. Now Naval Hormusji Tata became Naval Ratanji Tata. Okay, the son of Ratanji Tata, Naval Ratanji Tata, took over at just the age of 32 year to lead this empire. And Naval Tata was a orphanage boy. He comes from a very poor family. I won't go much into the family history, otherwise we all would get confused. So I'm taking up a few important points, particularly based on the venture which was being developed by the Tata family and the contribution from generation to generation. So that particular thing only I am taking up. Naval Ratanji Tata, I would say go. I would have a glimpse on his background. Laid a foundation of labor laws. Today, we all have been knowing the word labor laws, welfare, and the union of labor law. So it's been written over here. He represented the union in the International Labour Organization for a period of 38 years in those days. Just imagine. He was later the chairman of the Tata Group. Like the other Tatas, he was interested in sports and held the senior offices in social, educational, and welfare work. He was president of Indian Hockey Federation for 15 years and was at the helm when the Indian hockey team won the Olympic gold in 1948, 1952, and when the Indian hockey team won the Olympic gold in 1956 also. So he was been a president of a hockey federation for almost 15 years. Of course, he was also more keen on sports. Okay, I'm extremely sorry. I forgot. I've been talking in English. I will be in talking in Hindi also. Extremely sorry. I will. हाँ. So we can see from here कि रतन जी टाटा का कंट्रीब्यूशन भी काफी we can find it out from his author's writing itself. He was more learned person. उनको काफी रुचि थी स्पोर्ट्स में, सोशल सेक्टर में, डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर में. That's how he was able to successfully contribute for the development of the hockey in India. फिर हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. हाँ. Now, it's a very interesting concept. 2 years after he took as a chairman, I'm talking about Navrozji Sakhlatwala. Okay. 2 years after he took a charge, a massive earthquake in Bihar happened. It was a Tata group that took the lead in providing help and sent a special relief train to Mungar, okay, to carry workers and construct a temporary hospital to take care of the wounded. More than 400 people were treated, and medical workers also ensured that diseases like chickenpox, cholera, and typhoid did not spread. That's how it came into the concept. In those days, Saklatwala thought, why not India should have some kind of team who can help them or who can have a rescue during this kind of operation, like earthquake, like rains, or any other natural calamities. In that concept, friends, he thought to establish an institution called Tata Institute of Social Science in Mumbai. That's how the conceptualization of the institution was being taken place by the learned man and the chairman of the Tata Group in those days. And today we all know, everybody who want to pursue their career into social or development sector have a vision or to get a degree from Tata Institute of Social Science in Mumbai. That's how the Tata Institute of Social Science was being started. Wonderful. One more thing. It's very interesting thing was been mentioned by the author is he was very fond of playing cricket. Saklatwala in his childhood days. That's how he thought. In this also has a very interesting story, I would say. It's not been mentioned in this particular book by the author Girish, but I would like to share one incident which has been connected with what I am saying it. Saklatwala was very much fond of playing cricket in his childhood days. He even won lots of trophies in his childhood days while playing cricket. But he challenged the Britishers. I mean, lots of games or the competition or the matches were being held out of India. Most of the international cricket matches, and the matches which were being held in India was not been allowed to play or would not been accepted by the Britishers for the Indian to participate in those cricket matches. It's very unfortunate. हाँ, बहुत दुख की बात है कि जब ब्रिटिश इंडिया के टाइम पे जब मैच होती थी हमारे भारत में, तभी भारतीयों को अलाउ नहीं किया जाता था by the Britishers to be a part of the cricket match, which made Saklatwala very upset. And he thought, and like Jamshed ji thought of building a hotel, similarly his successor thought of building a cricket ground in India. That's how the concept of starting a cricket ground, the first international cricket ground called Cricket Club of India in India, was being constructed at Mumbai, and it was a world class cricket ground which was been established in those days and was fulfilled the dream of Indians to be a part of cricket matches. That's how he challenged the Britishers. That's how the establishment of Cricket Club of India happened. Interesting figure. Now, I would say it's very unfortunate the chairmanship of Sakletwala was only for the few years. Just 6 years after taking over the group, Sakletwala died with a massive heart attack in 1938. He was just a 34-year-old, so he didn't get a chance to contribute much to the Tata Empire. But whatever period, whatever tenure he got, he have done it. He have worked it extensively well and contributed enough for the Tata Empire, which I believe in just a short span of time. Thereafter, uh, the tenure of JRD Tata comes. JRD Tata हम सबने सुना होगा. Everybody knows JRD Tata. His full Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai. JRD Tata, before it's not been in this book, but I would have a background of JRD Tata. I have seen many documentaries and interviews of JRD Tata, which I can make it out from his personality. He had a very flamboyant personality. He he was being trained in a French army. Yes, वो French army में थे in France, and it was a very hard time. This also I have read it somewhere in another book. It was a hard time to convince JRD to come back to India from France and take over the business. ये बहुत चैलेंजिंग टाइम था जब टाटा फैमिली JRD को कन्विंस करने में लगी हुई थी कि आप भारत आइए और टाटा एम्पायर को संभालिए और आगे ले जाइए. Because JRD was very young. JRD was more into, he was a part of French army, and it was a very hard time for the family to convince him to leave the army, come back to India and lead the empire. But JRD Tata को भी लगा कि हाँ मेरी जरूरत है, मुझे भारत वापस जाना चाहिए. And whenever he used to be in India, he was accompanying his brothers in the business, so he was familiar about it. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई टाटा एम्पायर को लीड करने के लिए नहीं थे इसलिए JRD को बुला के बिठा दिया, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. He was already involved in the business. He know the vision of the founder. He knew the functionality of the Tata business. He was aware about how those challenges and how those, I would say, the thought process of the Tata empire. That's how the family focused JRD should come back to India and lead the empire. That's how JRD came back, left the French army and came back to India and took over as a chairman of the Tata empire. So in the 6th chapter, author describes what were the challenges happened for the family to convince. इतना डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे हम. If you are interested, you can read it. JRD's early years in his childhood days, the twist in the family and how difficult for him, all these things has been mentioned. But personally, I won't go into the personal life of the Tata family. It was a very struggling childhood for most of them. I won't touch the family life in this video, friends. We would switch over to the next chapter. I think in this also it's not been mentioned. There were RD's death happened and marriage and air race were the two challenges. We won't go in personal life again. Again, I would skip that. Now we are on that page were the birth of Tata Airlines. हम सभी को पता है कि आज की जो एयर इंडिया है वो एक टाइम पे टाटा एयरलाइंस हुआ करती थी, and in those days it was like a maharaja, and today we all know how struggling we are facing to pay the salary of our own employees. That's how the venture has become a critical. Now let's see how can government can revive it, or still government whatever. That's a separate issue. I won't comment on that, but let's see what happens. So the first contribution of this gentleman, I would say, JRD Tata, was a Tata Airlines. Now GRD became a chairman. He started took an initiative of having a business in the aviation. Thereafter, Tata Steel. He GRD. What I can make it out from his personality was GRD was more involved. Now all the businesses was been started by his previous chairpersons. Now he wanted to streamline it in all the businesses. He was more focused to stabilize the administrative structure of the businesses, to provide a good leadership and transformity and transparency within the organization. So initial years of taking over a Tata chairmanship, he focused to stabilize all this structure. फिर टाटा स्टील में थोड़ा स्टेबलाइजेशन और टाटा स्टील को स्ट्रीमलाइन करने में उन्होंने समय दिया, काफी समय दिया. हाँ, the second major focus of JRD was during his tenure, he made Tata Steel as the flagship of Tata Group, and thereafter he focused that Tata Chemicals जो मिठापुर में शुरुआत होने वाला था, लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो नहीं हो पाया था कुछ हद तक. So the birth of Tata Chemicals started after Tata Steel. Thereafter, in between lots of tussles, government bureaucracy चल रही थी, उसमें मैं डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा. One more thing, it's very important for me to highlight is I can make it out from the letters which were been written by JRD to Mahatma Gandhi and Mahatma Gandhi ji to JRD. JRD didn't follow Gandhiji's ideology. That's what I can make it out from the letters which were being shared between the two. Now, friends, one more thing, the facts which I am sharing it, like JRD's and Gandhiji's relationship was, they are very good friends, no doubt about it, but the ideology was not similar, I would say. Similarly, JRD and Jawaharlal Nehru was also very good friends. Before Jawaharlal became a prime minister, they were a very good friends since childhood. They both knew each other very well since their childhood, both JRD and Jawaharlal Nehru. But still, the ideology was not same, which I can make it out from the letters, and I will share few facts with all of you as soon as we go forward in the upcoming chapters. So, nationalization of Air India began. Now, हमें सबको पता है कि किस प्रकार से नेशनलाइजेशन हुआ था, क्या क्या पॉलिटिक्स हुई थी, and it's been written, I would say, now I would say it's one letter I would read it for you. It's been written, "My dear Gandhiji," by JRD. "My dear Gandhiji, you must have seen my statement to the press on the communique you issued couple of days ago on the subject of our forthcoming visit to England and America. I cannot tell you how hurt I was by the views you expressed about our trip and by the strong language you used. What made it worse was that I or some other member of the group was not given an opportunity of removing the misapprehensions which you evidently entertained about the purpose of our trip. In the circumstances, I was driven to issue my statement to the press in order to make my position clear. I am leaving on Friday morning and expect to return sometime in August, when I hope I shall have an opportunity of discussing the matter with you. With kind regards and sincere wishes, yours sincerely, GRD. In 9th May 1945, GRD wrote a letter to Gandhi. So he protested against the Jawaharlal Nehru and Gandhiji for not focusing the way it should be for the Free India movement, which was been struggling. Yeah. So even Mahatma Gandhi replied, "Bhai Jahangir ji, if you have any note, if you have write anything angry, if you have all gone not to community yourself, to anything may not protect you." So it's well, we can. There are lots of letter. I don't want to go. I read all the letters in front of you. You can have a glance at a book and you can go through it if you want. But it's a very clear cut. We can make it out from the letter. The ideology was not been matched between JRD and Gandhiji's. Now we are moving Air India and Free India. We have already discussed. Over a year also there were lots of letters were written by Jawaharlal Nehru and JRD. Over here JRD's personal life has been mentioned, so I won't go into that chapter. We will skip that chapter. Letters have been shared, which you can read it. Now nationalization of Air India began. Now you just try to, I can make it out from this chapters. There were lots of politics going on in the government after India got independent for the nationalization of Air India. So Jawaharlal Nehru was in a strong opinion that Air India should be nationalized, but he was not able to say it openly in front of JRD. That's why he started lobbying. I would say Jawaharlal Nehru started lobbying within his minister and told one of his minister to convince JRD that nationalization of Air India should be done at any cost. Where JRD was not ready for it, JRD was, I would say, in this book it's not been written, but I have read it in another book also. JRD was saying not no for the nationalization. JRD was saying कि कुछ समय अभी अभी इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंट हुआ है, कुछ ही समय हुआ है, still we are not stable. Let's be stable first of all, and then institutions should be nationalized. He was not against nationalism. So that's how the tussle and the fights and the politics and bureaucracies and all was going on, and finally Air India became nationalized. Now second thing, debate was going on among the cabinet whether chairman should be JRD or chairman should not be JRD. So there were lots of tussles were going on within the cabinet also. फिर decide हुआ कि चलो chairman of Air India will be JRD Tata, because under his leadership or under his tenure only the Air India came into existing in India. And we all know JRD is the first pilot, commercial pilot who started Air India in India. But now comes a twist. Moraji Desai government came to power. Government came to power. He removed JRD as chairman. So again JRD was been removed. He got upset also, but he didn't disappointed. He told you can remove it, and he was a very sarcastic person, so he replied to Moraji Desai, you can remove it from the chairmanship of the committee of Air India, but you can't remove me or you can't stop me traveling through Air India flights. That's how he gently gave his resignation and left the job, and he continued focusing in his Tata to carry forward the ventures in the Tata group. Now, many people have heard the name of Lakshmi, which is into beauty products, which was also been started by the Tata under the tenure of GRD, but later on Tata sold it away. So now it's no more in the hand of Tatas. The second thing, the contribution of JRD was Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Yes, which we all know. It was been started by JRD. Then another venture for it started by under the tenure of JRD was into locomotive business, and thereafter it came into telco, and telco the Kodi plant in Pune, which we all know it, was being initiated by under GRD's tenure. Yes. Now, even in 1960s, telco tried to enter the passenger car market. That's how Tata Empire entered into the automobile industry. Now, 12th, we have been reaching on 12th chapter. Now over here, Indira Gandhi's tenure was going on, where Air India started making a loss. So here comes the twist. Okay, and thereafter, lots of internal politics were going on, and lots of conferences, and lots of kutu meme. So you won't go into that. So I would skip those chapter. Lots of politics were going on, like Swatantra Party was being formed, and there were lots of discussion going on that GRD supported Swatantra Party, and lots of people were involved, and Indira Gandhi felt that JRD is leading that party, but JRD was not involved in politics. But yeah, I can say that's my personal opinion. Whether it's Jawaharlal Nehru, whether it's Indira Gandhi, whether it's Mahatma Gandhi, or whether whosoever it is, JRD had a very strong voice, and which I mean, he used to say whatever he felt like. He was not ashamed. He didn't even thought, I would say, against with politician, or I would say against uh, to him or her will get into trouble. I mean, he was very open minded. Whatever comes to his mind, whatever vision he had, he used to split it out from his mouth without having any kind of controversial, I would say, controversial mindset. That's how Indira Gandhi thought JRD is supporting a Swatantra party, and all those bullshit started. We won't go into politics again. There is a lots of thing has been covered in this book during this tenure also. But let's keep this aside, I would say. In this butting heads, Moraji Desai also had a tough time. GRD has a tough time with Moraji Desai also, in lots of difference of ideology, I would say, a difference of thoughts. 19 China Pakistan 1962 war started. So again, JRD got puzzled, and his empire was being stopped. And MRTC Act, Indira Gandhi declared emergency. Uh, so again, it and again JRD appeared And it's been written in the newspaper interview. He said he'd been positive about the emergency to the extent that it would bring discipline into the country. He said nearly 60 crore Indians were more worried about whether they would get their next meal or not than their freedom of speech. And that time Palki Wala was also a part of GRD management in Tata. So both were having a very good times, I would say. Huh. The letter which I spoke earlier also, there is a letter written over here. You can read it in the page number 118. GRD dismissed from Air India. So, my dear JRD, we had under consideration the question of reconstitution of the board of Air India and Indian Airlines. After taking into account various considerations which were relevant to the importance of securing efficient working of the two airlines, we came to a conclusion that there should be one chairman of both the undertaking. We have therefore decided to appoint Air Chief Marshal PC Lal, who is already a part-time chairman of Indian Airlines and who though could be spared by you as a chairman of both the airlines. You know PC Lal very well, and I do hope you will agree with our choice. Let me assure you that we are very sorry to part with you as a chairman of Air India. Just imagine this Moraji Desai is writing. I do let me assure you that we are very sorry to part with you as a chairman of Air India. We fully appreciate the distinguished service you have rendered to Air India during your long association with it and great contribution you have made it to building up a nation. I'm expressing this view particularly because I do not wish you to entertain any impression that we have in and we have made this change because of any lack of appreciation of your conspicuous work. With the best wishes and regards, Monaji by Desai. Just imagine Moraji reply. GRD, as usual, GRD doesn't stop in replying to anyone. So he even replied it in a more sarcastical way than Moraji. That's how the tenure came into existence. Now we will go on further. Now Naval Ratanji Tata and JRD. Now Naval Tata, I would say he was not so much active. Naval Tata was not so much active into the business. So then George Fernandez came and all those stuff happened. So we won't go into that detailed politics which happened for Air India or during time of emergency. Hmm. One more thing. One more thing I would say. He, uh, how should I make you understand? Like Dorab Tata, if you remember, I would say the son of Jamshedji Tata has two sons, Dorab Tata and Ratan Tata. That Ratan Tata. Ratan was more into social sector, where Dorab was more into this contribution of the GDP. Similarly, in this also, GRD Tata was more into the business or the GDP sector. At the same time, his brother Naval was more into the social in development institutions. So he was more in with the social leaders in those times, with emergency leaders, and he was more close to Swatantra Party, which got Indira Gandhi also upset because of Naval Tata. Indira Gandhi started getting uncomfortable with JRD Tata also. That's how the long politics happened. I don't want to go in depth with this. Then almost of the letters has been mentioned in those days. And Indira Gandhi is assassinated and Rajiv Gandhi comes to power. And that time, how the Tata Empire was been going on has been mentioned in detail, which I won't go in detail. So that's how the then VP Singh also called JRD Tata, and even he tried to. VP Singh was the person who throw a ball to JRD to think over it that Tata iron and steel should also be nationalized. So again, JRD Tata got upset, like Air India, and then George Fernandez and many other social leader or many other, I would say, nationalist leaders like Pilu Modi, George Fernandez, and all those people opposed it, saying we are able to see the Air India is getting lost and we are not being able to progress it. So we don't want the Tata Iron and Steel also to happen same. That's how the protest was been raised and it was been stopped. Then there are very lots of good black and white photographs of the families and the contributions and initiatives. Wonderful picture. You can have a glance at it. Now, we have reached to page number 133. The search for success continues. So, who will be the next after JRD? JRD's had a very long contribution. JRD, in the time of JRD, only civil aviation, Tata Chemicals, automobiles, lucratives, and I would say right from Nasarvanji Tata to JRD Tata, I would say JRD's tenure was more challenging in terms of everything. I mean, everybody had a challenge of starting a new project and everything, no doubt about it. लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है कि जेआरडी टाटा के टेन्योर में challenges ज्यादा थी क्योंकि इंडिया got just independent and lots of political tussle was happening. One more thing I would say was written in this book also, and very everybody knows it's been public. JRD was not happy with Jawaharlal Nehru ji because he was more of towards the social. He picked up to have a social ideology, which where JRD was against it. JRD always thought we can do it. Why can't we establish it? Why can't we be a manufacturing hub? Why we have to depend on another country after independent? That was the thought process between the two. As usual, we all know it. It's unfortunate, but we can't help it as of now. But whatever we have it, we have to be thankful to everyone, and even more thankful to the vision of the Tata family. Otherwise, today also we would be struggling with Tata instead of social science or whatnot. Then GRE started uh, search for his successor. That's how uh, it came into a tenure of GRD came into a conclusion, I would say. And by now, Ratan Naval Tata, the current Ratan Tata, I would say. I can show you the picture so that you don't get confused. This one. The current Ratan Tata joined this Tata Empire. He had also had a very tough time in his childhood days. So he came back to India. He was in foreign. He was doing very well in US, but again He came back to India. He started working. His first job was in the Tata Steel. He was very recently. I was reading one piece in the newspaper. He was working closely with the laborers in Tata Steel and very close to JRD Tata. Close in the terms, he was reporting to the JRD Tata. That's how Ratan Naval Tata entry started in the Tata Empire. He started working, he started supporting to GRD, and he was involved in the business with the GRD and learned from his childhood days. That's huh. Now over here, I would say one incident. Jangir GRD Tata was not keeping well. That's how when Dr. Udwadia, very prominent doctor in Mumbai, as of now we all know Dr. Udwadia. So on 24th November, he asked Dr. Udwadia asking J. He used to call JRD as J. What exactly is your problem? JRD replied, Farokh, it's my old age home. I am now 89. What can trouble me? Later, when a French friend came visiting JRD, said, that must be pleasurable experience, isn't it? Leaving the friend speechless. That's how the journey of JRD comes to an end. Now, JRD Tata is no more. That's how, after JRD, I said Ratan Tata came and took over as a chairman of the Tata Empire. Now, as author has also mentioned, the way I mentioned it, Ratan had returned to India at the behest of his mother, grandmother, and JRD. The current Naval Tata was a was being brought up by his grandmother, and he had been quite happy in settled in US. But on receiving JRD's letter asking him to return and join the group, he left his job and packed his bag for India. That's how the JRD returned. That's how the Ratan Tata returned to India. Then again, it's been Ratan Tata's personal life is also been mentioned very recently on the social media. It got trailed a month back about Ratan Tata's girlfriend he had in his younger age, in his college days, I would say, and what was the twist happened. I don't want to go into personal life again of anyone's, so let it be. Ratan Tata also knew, had a vision. He was also having his own personality of dealing with the matters. And I remember Ratan Tata, I met him once in my college days also. He was very humble, very humble, no doubt about it. That's how Ratan Tata was more of into technology age. That's how the Tata consultancy service got started under his tenure, I would say. The age of computer and IT started under Ratan Tata's tenure, given the charge of telco. So, how he changed the business of telco. Then the birth of motor car happened. Tata Finance Limited, financial institution, under financial institution also the empire. have contributed it. Then lots of interviews, author have mentioned it between the Tatas and the chairpersons and everything, which I won't go in detail. Huh. Now, huh. Over here, Tata Consultancy Service was the most challenging and I would say the first project of Ratan Tata, the current Ratan Tata, after he took over as the chairman of the Tata Group. It was also in those days among the largest private employers in India with more than 2.5 lakh staff, second only to Indian Railway. To understand its genius, we need to go back in the times to 1960s, in fact. So the author have mentioned in very detail how what were the struggles were going on, what were the challenges we used to face while starting this empire, which I won't go in depth. How the birth of TCS took place. The detailed plan has been written by author, and I won't go that in depth. Now, that not only that, under the chairmanship of under the TCS chairman Subramaniam Ramadhorai, who took TCS at the American market in a very short span of time. And hmm, no. And then we go on this chapter. I would say, hmm, now we are on those chapter number 22, small car, big trouble. Very interesting heading given by the author Girish Kuber. We all know the plan or the vision or the idea of Tata Nano car. And currently, yesterday only I was seeing in the interview, as currently the West Bengal elections are being going on. So lots of people, lots of interviews has been taking place. How the establishment of Tata Nano happened from West Bengal to Gujarat. So it was Ratan Tata's dream to start to give a cheapest car to the family member, and it has been mentioned in detail by the author what were the tussle happened between the Tata and Mamata Banerjee, and how Ratan Tata received a call from then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and that's how the Tata Nano plan shifted from West Bengal to Gujarat. There were lots of disappointments from both the sides. There were lots of even challenges for shifting the plant from West Bengal to Gujarat. So detailed, minute stuff has been mentioned by the author in this book, which I won't go in depth. Now, that was quite sure Ratan Tata wanted to launch a cheapest car in the Indian market, but now it has been decided by the authorities of both the stakeholders, from Tata stakeholders also and Gujarat government stakeholders also. The plant will be shifting to Gujarat. Now there was a choice between the two routes from Singur to Sanand. One was via Agra and Jaipur with a distance of 2,163 km, while the other was via Raipur and Nagpur with a total distance of 1,843 kilometers. The latter was shorter and seemed like a logical choice. But Vishwakarma wanted to determine which would be the better route and asked a few of his men to travel both. The conclusion after the actual journey was different. The former route, while longer, had a narrow stretch on only 390 km. The later on the other hand, had a narrow stretch of 1633 km. To add to it, there were lots of bridges which seemed unstable or not strong enough for a heavy containers to move from that direction. So it was decided to choose a longer route was selected, and it was taken 10 days more, but it was better than struggling on a narrow roads. That's how the some period was also been extended to launch the car. I remember lots of question was being raised, lots of debates were going on in the television media, and all those stuff happened. And finally, on 23rd March 2009, Ratan Tata launched the Nano at a function in Mumbai, and he had taken it upon himself to produce and indigenously made a car at a price which seemed impossible to foreign companies. ये इंसिडेंट से मुझे थोड़ा और एक चीज मैं बात करना चाहूंगा कि many people got surprised कि 1 लाख में कार लॉन्च हो पाएगी कि नहीं हो पाएगी. रतन टाटा का स्वभाव ऐसा है कि once he says he does it. So 1 लाख का प्राइस उन्होंने कोट किया था when the plant was in West Bengal. लेकिन वेस्ट बंगाल से गुजरात शिफ्ट करने में उसकी कॉस्टिंग बढ़ गई थी, तो कार की कॉस्टिंग भी बढ़ गई थी. सो लॉट्स ऑफ पीपल हु वर इन्वॉल्व्ड विद दिस प्रोजेक्ट along with Ratan Tata were trying to convince him कि सर इतने में तो we won't be able to afford to launch with a price of 1 lakh now. So Ratan Tata said, no, I have already given my words. I won't go back. We have to do it. We have to do it. And we have to do it. And we will only produce our car with a cost of 1 lakh rupees. I have given my words. After all, a promise is promise. That was the word of Ratan Tata. Abhi, one more thing, interesting incident I remember, and everybody must have read it or heard it. The tussle of Jaguar land and Jaguar and the Land Rover acquisition. So मुझे याद है एक डॉक्यूमेंट में भी दिखाया हुआ है, and very people knows about it, about this particular incident कि जब टाटा मोटर्स या टाटा ऑटोमोबाइल्स जब लॉस हो रही थी, that time the owner of Jaguar came and said कि आपको कार बनाने के लिए नहीं आती है तो आप इस बिजनेस में क्यों आए. What's the use of coming into automobile business if you don't have any experience about it? That was the question raised by the owner of Jaguar to Ratan Tata after the meeting got over. So Ratan Tata got very disappointed. वो काफी disappointed हो गए और उसी समय उन्होंने अपने सेक्रेटरी से बोल दिया कि मुझे I don't want to sell my business. If it's getting lost, I will bear the loss, but I won't sell my business. That was one single statement given by Ratan Tata to the owner of Jaguar and Land Rover. Thereafter, in the year 2008, Jaguar and Land Rover was getting lost, and this was the time it was like Ratan Tata again came forward and with a smiling face he told and reverted back after so many years, if we are not able to manage the business, what made you to continue it? It was like a tit for tat, and since then हम सभी जानते हैं कि जेगुआर एंड लैंड रोवर का बिजनेस टाटा ने परचेस किया and have never seen back. It's been running in a profitable business. फिर टाटा कल्चर के बारे में मेंशन किया गया है इस बुक में, आखिरी में ऑथर ने. वी ऑल नो टाटा culture during the time of Taj Mahal Hotel when the this one Bombay attack happened. That time also Ratan Tata played a very crucial role in giving compensation to all its employees, security guards, and the family members of the Jawans. And we all know his humbleness, his contributions about Ratan Tata. And not only he, entire Tata family, we can see it right from the Nasirvanji Tata to Jamshedji Tata to Dorabji Tata to then Ratan Dada Boy Tata, JRD Tata, all the Tata people under their chairmanship or under their leadership, they have contributed in something or other domain for the progress of this nation. That's how the chapter came to an end, and the Tata brand, we all know it. Everybody today, lots even people say, okay, or you all know it very well. 62% contribution of the Tata wealth goes to the people, back to the society, and at the end, again the search of a successor began, and we all know Cyrus Mystery was being given a charge, but somehow, isme I would say Cyrus Mystery's part has not been covered completely by the author, which I would say it's a drawback. But at the same time, it's it's very I would say during that time might be possible he would have not received that kind of information as we today have it. But we all know Cyrus Mystery took over the charge, and within a few months, the mindset didn't got matched, and all the tussle happened, and the challenges still going on between the Cyrus Mystery and Ratan Tata. But we won't go into the personal life or into politics much. And Chandrasekhar, I would say, took over as a chairman and the responsibility to lead the Tata empire. That's how the author have ended in the last chapter. And in the last, author took an interview of Ratan Tata. He had so many questions. He asked so many questions, out of which one very interesting question I would say, which I would like to share with you. Girish asked, JRD has once told his sister that he had been able to achieve whatever he did thanks to Tata's surname. When you took over, did you same thought occur to you? How much of a role do the Tata values play in what you do? This was the question asked by author Ratan Tata. The reply from Ratan Tata, listen very carefully. The Tataness is the biggest responsibility I carry on my shoulder. I have to live up to its value. It was something I always aware of. The name carries certain values, and it was my duty to ensure that we protect them. These values were something I was born with. I had grown up seeing how the employees and domestic helpers too were treated by the Tata family members. I did not have to do anything difficulty. It was quite natural for me. This was the reply given by the Ratan Tata. There were an interview of 1 hour, more than 1 hour. Lots of questions were being raised by the author, the Ratan Tata, and reply was being given. In the after interview, the author mentioned, sorry, the interview was over. Ratan Tata spent little time at home, conferred with the veterinary doctor. In the next day, newspaper carried the most important news of the day. Tata Group and Singapore Airlines were coming together to form an airline company. Interestingly, we had spoken about the airline business in our meeting yesterday, but Mr. Ratan Tata, he never mentioned the immediate joint venture which was announced the next day. It was another indication of a man who does not let on what he does. He who does not lord over his own empire. That's how the conclusion of the book comes. And we have covered, I mean, we come to a conclusion. It's a very long book with 263 pages, and at the end, the author expresses a thanks to the people who were involved, acknowledges Ratan Tata, Raj Thakre, R. Venkatesh Raman, and Tata Archives, and many other people. That's how the conclusion has been made by the author Girish Kuber. Girish Kuber is currently the editor of the Lok Satta. So it's a very interesting book. That's how we come to a conclusion. Beautiful cover page. One, and what next? I think we should end our program, and that's how I will keep on sharing my review, my analysis of the book which I keep on reading in the upcoming session. If you also want to share, friends, you can anytime. I'll be happy to listen your views, your reviews on the topic or on the book which you have been reading or which you have already read before. Now, that was, I have tried to cover the things which was been mentioned by the author, but we all know about the Tata empires have certain values, certain mindset, certain credibility, and I always think कि आज के टाइम पे it becomes very difficult to exist into the business for more than 5 years or 3 years or 10 years. लेकिन 150 साल से ज़्यादा I would say more than 150 years से वो credibility, वो visionary maintain करना it's quite a difficult situation. और एक मेरा ऑब्जर्वेशन ये भी है राइट फ्रॉम नसरवंशी टाटा, फिर जमशेद जी टाटा, दोराब जी टाटा, रतन जी टाटा बॉय और सखलेट वाला और JRD Tata, after JRD Ratan ji Tata again, all those people were not so much into a glamorous world. That's my observation. Whatever I'm saying, it's my thought or my analysis of what I have understood reading Tatas or understanding Tatas, not only from this book, I would say, but till now. Even when I met Ratan Tata few years ago, I saw him with a great humble, with a great cool personality, and whatever we asked him, he reverted back in a very soft-spoken personality. So that's how the culture of Tata is, and it's good that we have been having a fruit today just because of those visionary chairpersons of the Tata Empire. So, friends, I think we should end our talk. If you have more questions, if you have wanted to know something more about it, you can throw me a question, you can call me, you can email me. And one more thing, this was just an experiment I have been doing with all of you, because many people who wanted to know the information but they are not getting a time or they feel lazy to read big or long pages of the book. So I have tried to give a summary, or I would say the gist of the book and its analysis. If you wanted to know more in detail without reading a book, you can definitely go to my blog. I will share the link of my blog below in the description of this channel. You can click it over there and you can read it in detail. You can also visit to my social media pages. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or on the YouTube. I'll be happy to share more about whatever I have gained through this book or through any periodicals or through any interviews or through any portfolios of what the information I'm having about the Tatas. There is lots of thing to say about the Tata. I mean, एक दिन में, दो दिन में, तीन दिन में नहीं होगा. Tata has a long journey, long contribution, and amazingly work culture. So I think this legacy will not end, or the talk will not end today. It will keep on going, it will keep on continuing. That's all. Thank you very much for listening to me, and let's be connected and try to share our thoughts on the book which we have been reading it, or which we think we should read it. If you have any suggestions for me also that I should read any particular book, I'll be happy to read that and I will get back to you. Thank you. Take care of yourself and your family. And yeah, most important, please, my humble request to each one of you. We all know we have been facing a lot of challenges these days. We have been struggling with the pandemic since 1 year. I humbly request each one of you to please take the vaccination as soon as possible. Take utmost precautions, wear mask, sanitize your hand, maintain social distance, be protective for yourself and your family also, and let's fight together. Thank you, friends. See you soon with some another book review. Till then, do take care of yourself. Thank you.